For years, I had begged my mother. My biggest dream was to have Barbie dolls, glamorous, cute, and quite popular ones. Eventually, my mother couldn't resist my pleas, and on my 8th birthday, she bought me a Barbie dream house, a large Barbie dollhouse. It was the late 1990s, and I eagerly opened my gift. I started arranging the dollhouse I had been waiting for years and then began to play with my existing dolls. I played for hours without leaving the dollhouse until bedtime. When it was time to sleep, I carefully placed all the dolls in their beds and pushed the dollhouse back. This way, the dolls could sleep safely and I could continue playing where I left off the next day. After making all the preparations, I lay down in my bed and fell asleep immediately. I woke up in the middle of the night, just before midnight. The dry branches of the trees outside were tapping on the window pane due to the blowing wind. The moonlight filtering through the curtain was casting light into the room. But what woke me up wasn't the moonlight shining into the room or the dry branches tapping on the window. It was a 16-year-old boy. Groggy from sleep, I couldn't figure out where he came from. I felt a fear inside me, but I wasn't sure. I thought maybe it was the sound of our dog or that my parents might have woken up. But the sounds were coming from somewhere near my bed, I could swear to that. Just then, the sound stopped and I fell asleep again. I woke up with the first light of the next day. I was still very excited to play with my dolls. I pulled the dollhouse, which I had pushed against the wall the night before, towards me and lay down with the dolls. But there was something wrong. The dolls that I had left lying down the night before were all sitting in their rooms. They weren't in their beds, on the chair, on the floor. I found this a bit strange because I knew I had put them all to bed before I slept. But I didn't pay too much attention to it. I gathered all the dolls and started playing again. I didn't mention what had happened until evening, and I didn't move from in front of the Barbie dollhouse all day. When night fell and it was time for sleep, I was startled by my mother's voice. I quickly brushed my teeth and got into bed, falling asleep swiftly. Once again, a sound woke me from my slumber. The sound was there, this time I was sure. Maybe it was my mom or dad downstairs, I thought. Fear froze me in place. Slowly, I sat up, peering around with eyes half opened. But there was no one there. Yet, the rattles and noises were clearly coming from inside the room. I turned my head and looked at the dollhouse. Something was amiss. The sounds were coming from the dollhouse. As I approached it slowly, the noises intensified. Now they were coming from behind the wall of the house. I opened the door and looked inside. Or somehow, I entered inside. The dollhouse was dark, and there was nothing there. Everything that puzzled me had vanished suddenly. Maybe I had dreamt it that night. Their heads turned towards us. Verdi, meaning did not say, pierced my mind. I don't know, but there were things not right about this house. The next day when I woke up, I wasn't excited at all. I didn't want to play with the dolls or even pass through the house. I sat downstairs all day watching TV. When evening came, before going to bed, I threw a blanket over the dollhouse. There were things inside that shouldn't be there. It bothered me. I remember it vividly. Shortly after, I fell asleep, and this time I opened and closed my eyes tightly. But I was about to witness something much more terrifying. The sounds were coming. I concentrated and began to watch carefully. I was frozen at what I saw. The dolls were moving. How could this be? I immediately called for my mother and father. We entered the room together and looked. But the dolls were lying in their beds. The whispers and rattles had stopped. The dolls were gone. The next day, my parents, seeing how distressed I was, decided to clear everything out, including the Barbie dolls inside. They gathered everything and took them to the garage. That day, I went to school, and before the first class in the morning, I told my closest friend what had happened. What she said slightly shocked me. She told me, after playing, you should never leave the dolls inside the house. You should always put them back in their boxes before they go to sleep. Otherwise, the creatures try to escape. If you've listened this far, it means you like the story. Don't forget to like and comment before closing. I read all your comments. See you in new stories. Goodbye.